Our next speaker, there used to be a famous line, now something completely different. It's not so completely different, but it's taking the digital topic into a different area. So Paula Bray is the manager of Visual and Digitisation Services at the Powerhouse Museum. Basically, she's in charge of anything visual and digital at the Powerhouse Museum, looking after their AV projects across a range of issues. And her talk, Disrupting the Museum, Getting Digital Media to Engage and Reach Broader Audiences, well, it sort of ties in with what we've heard earlier. People are carrying gadgets, so they're phasing out. So they're on these gadgets, so that's just a reality. How can we capitalize on that, and how can we rethink the ways in which we can engage people in the museum? So we're very happy to have you here, Paula.
Thanks, Kai. How cool is Maya Dello? She's my new hero. Speaking of Minecraft, we actually held a Minecraft 100 kind of party at the museum where we had 100 kids in one room when our Game Masters exhibition was on, all playing Minecraft at the same time for one of our school holiday programs, building worlds. It was awesome. I work in the digital and media teams at the museum. This is my organisation on the Twitters, and that's me. So I've been asked to talk about the museum, and I thought, you know, seeing that we're being disruptive today, I thought we'd disrupt the museum a bit further, one of my passions, and talking about how to get digital media to reach broader audiences. And this is a quote from the Design Museum director, not my director. Disruptive innovation interrupts established ways of thinking, diverges from traditional practices, and proposes new and unexpected ideas. So I was thinking about disruption. I was thinking, well, what does actually disrupt us in the digital space? Obviously, technology. Audiences, definitely. Collaboration and creative thinking. So I'm just going to touch on those things with you today. So audience. This is our audience. This is your audience too. Okay, so technology is really changing audience behaviour. We all know that. We're all being changed. And I call our audiences the devised up audience. Technology has changed the way that people come to museums, and this little device is part of us, and it's an extension of our bodies and the way that we think and the way that we want to interact with content, whether we're in a museum or in a shop. And one of my other passions for when we create work at the museum, creative thinking, is looking at the retail sector, looking at what our audiences are exposed to in other areas where they're getting technology. This is the Burberry store in London. It's my new obsession. I did manage to get there recently and went in there and just had a fantastic talk to the team there and said, I'm not interested in, well, I am interested in your clothes, I just can't afford them, but I really want to talk about your tech. And they took me all around. They've got RFID in their mirrors, you hold up coats and you're connected to this content that, you know, it's just a fantastic experience. And not that a lot of people shop at the Burberry store, but it's that level of expectation of what other sectors are doing that influence museum sector. And so museums are great places for creative thinking, collaboration, and trying new things and experimenting. This is a recent project that the Design Museum is, they've just launched their new website, designmuseum.org. It's an amazing website. But they've put on this program called Designers in Residence Disruption, so very appropriate today, where they've got designers coming in, taking over the galleries and filling it with disruptive ideas. So taking a community and a audience perspective into the gallery spaces through different ways of interpreting. The new museum has launched an incubator of shared workspace with professional development programs for creative practitioners to come in and work with art, design and technology. So this creative thinking is actually disrupting the traditional methods of producing content and stories for museums. So some of the things that we think about when we create content is this cycle. The visitor coming to our website first, whether it's responsive website, mobile or online. What kind of experience do they want to have there before they come to the on-site physical spaces? What kind of experience do they want to have in those spaces with content and their devices or our devices? And then what they want to go home with, the post-visit. So we aim pretty highly to be a world-leading dynamic creative digital team, and we try and produce experiences that you necessarily can't get at home. I have this thing where I call it monitoritis. It's probably screenitis now. In that our audiences have so many screens and can, interact with content on screens all the time. There's a thing where they come to the museum and it's just not special to stand there and interact with a screen. You have to provide something new, you have to provide something creative that they can't necessarily get on their device at home, but in doing that you also have to link it back to their device for when they get home. I watch kids come into our museum and they'll see a monitor and they'll go up to it and they'll swipe it with their hand, and if it doesn't do anything they walk away. And if you look at our screens when they go off, they're just covered in fingerprints. So there's participatory. And one kid I saw at the Museum of Art and Design in New York, they had a collection display touch screen where you could explore the collection through little thumbnails, zoom in, zoom out. And he just stood there, and I might actually just put that down and be quite physical. He stood there and just started to move the items and then realised that he could just make it go really fast, and that was just his interaction with the collection. It's just going really fast, that's okay. That's what he wanted to do. At least he knows that museum has a collection. So what do? We want our content to be accessible, usable, shareable, meaningful, responsive, cross-platform, and we want to maintain that we're on brand. So now I just want to show you a few things that we've done, and I'm thinking about disruption. So in gallery, we try and focus on creativity and innovation. This was a series of talking head interviews that then had to be transcribed into a gallery experience, and I didn't want talking head monitors in the space. Beautiful, interactive, creative interpretation that left the visitor up to their own sort of interpretation. Of course, it had cross-platform outcomes. All the videos were then, on YouTube for the visitor to go home and watch later. We did that through the hideous QR code of the time, but that's okay. That's what was the best thing at the time. So QR code on the label, linking you back. We try and experiment as much as possible, and it's as much as the team wanting to put their creativity across into interpretation as it is our audience wanting to experience something they can't get at home. So this was a 11-minute piece about a photographer that was using rear projection and mirrors, and you went into the room and you experienced it in multiple views. It wasn't didactic. It was very playful and very beautiful. Again, playing with glass, rear projection. I'm not sure, I don't have this at home, but probably some people do, but just trying to be a bit more playful with materials and content. Participation's been important to us. This was a photo booth that we created for one of our fashion exhibitions, and it was just before the kind of real selfie took off, and so I call it the museum selfie booth, because we had a lot of visitors using this just to take a photo of themselves in the gallery space with a placard. We asked them a question: "Are you what you wear?" It was very highly used, and didn't necessarily respond to the question in the way that we wanted it to, but that's okay. But it was about connecting that visit in the galleries with online to on-site. This was another experience where it was a little bit disruptive, I must say, in this a development in that I pitched something that had no interpretation. So you can imagine at a museum that's quite difficult. And it was just a space. It was just a dark room. We recreated a dark room with projection. And basically there was no label apart from the outside. And the best thing about this for me was that I'd go in there and our audiences were telling their friends, their family stories about dark rooms. So it was a really popular experience, but an experiment. Scanning, we scanned the collection. You can see here, can you see that group of men sitting on the grass to the left? We scan at such a high resolution that we find stories within objects, and then we play with that and create videos and do other things. So it's about finding the stories within as well and handing that over to our audience. They're all online in one of our Flickr accounts. We've got content that's created by our community. We've had photographic competitions which have been purely produced by the community. This one happened to be about trains, not my favourite subject, but I know way more about trains than I ever dare to think about, really. But fantastic community, engaging exhibition, development online, storytelling, and an outcome that was physical in our space. We've been the first to join projects in third-party platforms that have sent ripples through the organisation because they're not, in the past, this is quite old now, the Commons, but it wasn't a platform that museums were using. So take a risk, and sometimes risks pay off. From that, we held a global meetup at the museum, which was a meetup that happened on a weekend in October with a bunch of museums from all over the world who showed the same favourites from the Flickr Commons through community curated slideshow, and we showed it at the same time just to say thank you to our audiences, and we held an event. It was really nice. That was a great meetup. We look for opportunities to explore creating good content, and sometimes that requires, a lot of project management, a lot of organisation. This was one, Janet Elkelman's artwork that was going up in the city. We set up cameras in 3 different buildings. It took a lot of convincing to get our cameras into the buildings at night time till 5 o'clock in the morning. But we managed to do it, and this is just a short time lapse of it going up. But the content was seen by the ABC in YouTube, who then contacted us to ask if they could license that content for a section in Redesign My Brain, the fantastic series that they had recently. And so for us, that's a great outcome. That's looking for opportunities for partnerships and telling stories outside of the museum. So what does it require for us to be a bit disruptive in the museum? It requires digital change. We have to remain on our toes at all times. We have to be thinking about how, software upgrades, new devices affect our audiences and what they bring and what they expect from a physical experience, but also an online experience. So it's really a ground-up approach. We believe in great service design, but it has to come with creative thinking, and we have to put audiences before platform outcome. So really I'm just going to summarise: strong focus on what audience needs are in the digital space, provide best customer service that we can with digital products. If the technology exists, use it smartly, because audiences don't really care about what the technology is. They don't care about the how. They want to do it. Partner broadly to optimise opportunities, and the smart use of digital provides for other engagement opportunities. And back to retail and other sectors, has a huge impact on the products that we have to develop. So we're constantly looking at what other sectors and audiences are doing. So for us, disruption is good if we can learn from it and maximise some of the outcomes from that. And these are just some of the new values that I think you kind of need when you are disrupting a museum or another space. Curiosity, creativity, collaboration, and sustainability. Here's the plug. This is our new vision, and it's here. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Paula. We have a couple of questions. The first one from Ella at the back of the room. How does virtual reality fit into your vision of that museum? And how do you connect physical and virtual spaces, I guess?
Virtual reality, I'm not sure. It's more about, like I said, it's not about the technology. It's about the intent and what it is that we want our audiences to do. So we wouldn't come with, oh, we have to make a virtual reality sort of, experience. I'm not sure audiences really want to have virtual reality experiences in museums, but I think it's about being clever about how you connect online to on-site, and it really is about audience first, not technology. So
yeah.
I'm struggling with
virtual
virtual reality.
Fine, absolutely. I think that's a good answer. There was another question on the commercial implications of being a museum in a digital connected world where a lot of things are out there on the internet. Do you see any particular challenges, or is it more an opportunity for you guys that those digital technologies present?
From a commercial...
Yes, so how, to put it bluntly, is it harder for museums to make money in this digital world than it used to be?
I think it's hard for museums to make money, full stop.
Yes.
Good
point.
Yeah, I mean, I have actually been responsible for some commercial output. I have had an income stream through photo library selling of content, digital assets. It's not something that we deem has been a commercial success, but it's not been our intent. Access has been our intent, and broadening up collection access and creativity and innovation in that space. So, that part of it is not a commercial driven need, but it could be done better. So but there's other. I see commercial not in a monetary sense, but in a partnership sense, like partnering with Google or partnering with other companies that bring certain aspects of a commercial element to your digital products is probably the best thing to try and aim for.
Thank you, Paula.
Okay,
Thank you so much.